Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is our first podcast with MSW Today podcast production, and we have the amazing Brian Porzio with us.
We're doing it.
Welcome here.
Thank you. This is exciting.
Thank you for coming.
I'm glad to be here. I need these walls in my house.
I know, aren't they fun?
Yep.
They're so cool and so colorful.
I'm inspired.
I am too. Well, I'm so excited to have you here. You are an amazing, amazing man of God. I had the opportunity indirectly hear you preach and hear you talk and hear you teach and learn about your passion for something that I'm passionate about, and that is the entertainment industry.
That's right.
So before we dive into all of that, I want to know just a little bit about you. Who are you? Who is Brian Porzio?
Yeah, I'm an Arizonan.
Oh.
I grew up in Tucson, and then I went to Bible college in Springfield, Missouri, of all places, middle of nowhere.
Okay.
When I was a kid, I felt like God called me to the ministry, and so I went to Bible college, and that was all I was going to do, and got a heart and a burden for this nation and for what God wants to do. And so I graduated and started doing that, started traveling, preaching as an evangelist, and then God just started to rewrite the script. Wow. And started to speak to me about the entertainment industry.
Wow.
So I was traveling and preaching as an evangelist, mostly to youth, students, like, camps, youth retreats, stuff like that. We'd have a blast. I'd hit some kids in the face with dodgeballs. That was my favorite part. And, but the Lord just started to show me the burden he has in his heart for how our culture shapes these kids and how the entertainment industry shapes these kids. So anyway, long story short, I just knew from the Lord that I needed to go to Hollywood.
Wow.
And, sold everything that I owned that wouldn't fit in my car in 2009 and drove out to LA. Didn't have a job. I didn't know a single person in LA, and I didn't have a place to stay. I didn't know where I was going to sleep.
That's a lot. That's big. How old were you?
I was 23.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
23 in a dream. And I was actually looking for a place to stay on Craigslist. And that was not a good idea. I was like, I'm going to get stabbed there. I'm going to get shanked there for sure. And I felt like the Holy Spirit said to me, hey, don't find a place. I'll take care of it. I already got it.
Wow.
And I was like, you got it. So I parked my car in the middle of the city on a Tuesday afternoon, and I just got out. And I didn't know where I was going to sleep that night. I just knew I needed to be there.
Wow.
And literally within 48 hours, God had miraculously provided for me a place to stay, an agent, the perfect people that I needed to meet. I mean, I had no idea who to talk to or where to go, but God brought them all to me, and it was wild. And that was confirmation, that God wanted me to go.
Wow. So when you got the agent and when you were out there, did you start working immediately, or were you on an assignment to kind of meet people and talk to them about?
Yeah, it's funny because when all that stuff happened, boom, boom, bang, I was like, this is easy. God's going to just, I'm going to be on set with Scorsese in like 2 weeks, but it didn't happen like that.
Okay.
So I started going on auditions right away. I started doing background work, extra work on movies and stuff like that. But the breakthrough, that thing in my mind, my timeline, God said, we're going to do a lot more in you first before we do some stuff through you.
Wow.
Because I learned now, years later, there's some stuff that he needed to do in me, say to me, some theology I needed to unlearn so that I wouldn't just be a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
And have this brief limelight moment, for Jesus.
Yeah.
And then collapse or whatever. God was thinking about this generational thing. So the road's been longer, and there's been wildernesses. There's also been great blessings and cool things. But I'm so thankful that he's protected me. My steps are ordered by him. So if I had my way, I would have asked God to open the doors, the big doors, right away, do it. But he knows so much better.
That's right. And you would fail. Like you said, you would fail. You would definitely go down a spiral slope without allowing him to come and do the work in you.
100%.
I mean, so many people, they know that they have a gift. They know they have a calling. They know that they're supposed to be doing something, but oftentimes they don't take the time to say, am I ready for this? Is this for now? Is this for the future? And what is it that you need to do in me first? And I bet you started to figure it out like, oh, well, I'm not going to be at the Oscars. I'm not going to be meeting Scorsese. So
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah, I remember praying in Bible college. I remember praying this. I said, God, I pray that you would never allow any success that I experience to outweigh the intimacy with you that I have.
That's good.
I pray that you would never allow it to happen. I would never get top heavy. You know, an iceberg, 90% of it is below the surface, right? And we want to find our gifts and talents and be used by God and be salt and light. That's the 10% on the top. And he just put it in me to pray that way. And I just feel like he's honored that prayer. There's been times where I have tried to be self-sufficient, or I've tried to take credit for myself, and he'll just pump the brakes and lock it up, because he's a good father. And he cares about protecting us as his children. He cares about the integrity that we have before him, our walk with him, so much more than what we do for him. And that's still the cry of my heart. And no matter how long it takes. So, you know, I would rather run the race longer and experience success later, but be able to steward it well.
That's good.
You know what I mean?
That is so good.
So that's what we're doing.
Awesome. So so tell me about the time when you got there. How long were you out there? How did you dabble around into leaving and coming back? Like, just talk about that time frame.
So 2009, I show up. I start, getting on set. I'm still traveling and preaching as an evangelist to events and stuff like that. I meet my wife in 2010 in ministry.
Okay.
She was actually a youth pastor at a ministry out there called the Oasis of Hollywood. So I met her there, which was really cool. I got to know her in that context.
Oh, good. That's
and
awesome.
then started dating, turned on the charm. Yeah, we dated 2.5 years. We got married in 2014.
Okay, awesome.
And then I'll tell you, right after that, I feel like I started to spin my tires.
Okay.
This frustration, what's going on? The doors aren't opening. There's no traction. The needle's not moving.
Is that warfare?
Yeah, and I thought it was, I need to dig my heels in.
Okay.
But my intuition was wrong. God was drying us up in LA because he wanted us to move.
Okay.
It was time for a transition.
Okay.
And my wife, Christina, she's 10 times more intuitive than me.
Wow.
Because I'm a stubborn male.
Oh, wow.
She started to say, hey, maybe we need to, maybe we need to move. And we had some mentors in Atlanta who started talking to us and saying, hey, Brian, you can do what you're called to do in Atlanta. Why don't you come here? And I was like, no, I need to make it in LA. I have to. It's the stubbornness.
Because that's what everybody thinks. If you're in LA, you're making it.
Yeah.
It's all good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I believed that.
Yeah.
And it's just not true. And it was probably my pride.
Okay.
It was probably like, if I leave, it'll mean that I failed.
Yeah.
But long story short, it ended up getting confirmed that it was time to go. So we sold this loft that we lived in and moved out to Atlanta in 2016.
Okay.
And I can tell you that it was the right play in every way. I look back and I'm like, I'm so sorry I was stubborn.
Oh.
This living in Atlanta, being an actor here, and also ministry and preaching and teaching here, we have thrived and flourished so much more.
Is Atlanta the new LA, Brian?
Yes, it is.
Oh, everybody's here, right?
Come to Atlanta. You don't need to be in LA. This is where it's at. No, yeah, I mean, with the tax credits that are not expiring,
credits.
So much production and filmmaking has left California. It's moving to other places. There's few different places, but Atlanta is one of the hot spots. And I get asked by young actors a lot who, have that question. What should I do? Should I go to LA? Do I need to be there? And I literally tell them, you don't. Come to Atlanta, get established. The cost of living's lower. It's easier in so many ways.
Okay.
So Atlanta is it. And yeah.
Okay. So do you have any agents, or talk about, is God your agent? Like, how are you doing this?
So perfect question. I had an agent. So I got to Atlanta in 2016, signed with an agency in North Atlanta, and was doing that, booking and yay. In December of 2022, I dropped my agent. And I actually dropped them. I was having a spiritual hissy fit with God.
Oh.
I hit one of these walls. I can't do it anymore. Yeah. I quit because acting is tough.
And it ain't happening fast enough for me. Like, what's going on? It's tough in acting. It's tough to find work. It's just tough, right?
Yeah. Okay. All those things, the rejection, the grind, it just got to me. And it's done that a few times in my life, and every actor knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so I actually just said, God, I just can't do this anymore. I'm out. And I've been in that place a couple times, but I never sent the email. Well, dude, I was struggling so much in December, I sent the email. And that was it.
Wow.
And I deactivated my Actors Access. And
what?
Yeah, the whole thing.
You were like, for real done, huh?
Yes, it was bad. It was bad. And I knew it was disobedience.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even tell my wife. And a week later, we were in the kitchen together, and she looks at me out of nowhere. She looks at me, she's like, did you drop your agent?
Oh.
And I'm like, you read my email?
How you know?
Are you spying? You're spying. And she's like, no. And that intuition. She's so, man, she can read me.
I love it.
Which is a blessing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so anyway, here's the crazy story. So I dropped my agent in middle of December, and God, as a gracious Heavenly Father, said, Brian, you're not done. I'm not done with you. We're going to get through this hissy fit, and I'm going to still be gracious to you. And here's what happened. In January, with no agent, I thought I was done, deactivated my Actors Access. 2 feature film roles came in out of nowhere.
Y'all hear that? Tell them.
Yeah, seriously. And one of them, I auditioned for it in September.
Okay.
Didn't get it.
Okay.
And so I dropped my agent, and then I get an email out of nowhere from my former agent saying, hey, they moved somebody off the role. You booked it.
Wow.
Well, it ended up being 7 days on Megalopolis, the Francis Ford Coppola film that's shot down at Trilith and at Fox Theater. And my audition was 1 line. And it turned into 7 days, mic'd up with Shia LaBeouf, Giancarlo Esposito.
Oh, wow.
I was mic'd up next to Adam Driver. It was crazy. It ended up being the biggest acting job to date.
Oh, cool.
Out of nowhere.
That is amazing.
And then 2 weeks later, I booked 2 scenes in a feature film that just dropped on PureFlix, a faith-based film that I got to work in. And then commercials started to come in out of nowhere. And then I booked 2 weeks on the Kendrick brothers' new film, The Forge, which shot in Albany.
Nice.
They say Albany down there. It's Albany.
It's Albany.
But they're going to get you for that. They will drill you. So worked on that in late June, early July.
Okay.
2 weeks on that. That's coming out in theaters in August of 2024. Just booked another film that's shooting in February and March. Okay. But here's what I tell you that. That was all without an agent. And this year has been a year of God reaffirming me and providing for me and reminding me that He's the one who can do it.
He's the provider.
Yeah.
He's Jireh. He's Shaddai.
That's it.
I mean, He's everything to us, and He knows the deepest desires, and He knows that He put that talent in you. He knows that He called you to do it. He called you to be in the industry, and He knew the timing, and He knows where he's taking you next.
That's right.
A lot of actors that are struggling, what would you say to them about waiting or timing? What would you say to them about if you're called to this, it will happen?
Yeah. So that whole story of this past year has been such a testimony to me, and I would share it with anybody who feels called by God, who's struggling. If you're called by God, if you've heard his voice, you know something from him, right, that you're supposed to do with your life. You have to lay down your timetable. You have to die to your expectations. And I am embracing that now. And I think for a long time I did not embrace that. Because God is playing 4D chess.
Whoa.
With our character, with our families, our future families, all of these things. He's thinking about so much more than just, I need to be on a show on Netflix so that I can be salt and light. It's very one-dimensional. God is thinking so far outside of that. And so when actors are struggling who have a heart to be used by God, they need to know a couple things. Number one, God is a good Heavenly Father.
Yes.
When you have your hissy fits, he will be patient and gracious. And I am so thankful that he has given me another shot. I'm so thankful. Number two, die to your expectation in your timetable. And there's a yieldedness that we're called to have. And at the same time, we're called to work and to labor and to strive and to be excellent. That they're not mutually exclusive. There's a yieldedness that we're supposed to have within our working and our laboring. That at the end of the day, we say, God, we're on your schedule and your clock. And actors get so impatient. They just want it now. And when they get a call back, it's like, oh, this is my first call back in a month. I have to book it. And God doesn't want you to live like that.
Stressful.
Yeah, it's not fun. He's called us to joy, to labor from a place of peace and joy, that he can put you in a room with anybody.
That's right.
He really can.
He really can. Okay, so tell me about what your heart is telling you to do as you continue to push through in the industry. What are you feeling like your role is now? Of course, you're getting the jobs, which is amazing. Are you using the evangelistic Brian to go in these opportunities? Because I know that it's great to know that you're called in this area, but you want to be something like all of the areas that we don't know, that they don't know Christ. So if you get a call for whatever film, are you going to go in there? Are you going to go in with the evangelizing? You're going to go in just being light?
Yeah, that's a great question. So my philosophy is I want to be on set of both faith-based and non-faith-based.
Yeah.
When you think about the Daniel anointing, the Josephs under Potiphar's, right? Daniel's under Nebuchadnezzar's. That's what I feel called to do.
Good.
Is walking in a spirit of excellence without bowing your knee to Baal.
That's right.
And we can do both. We can do that.
Yeah.
So I'm open to both, and I've done both. And I mean, there are some major benefits to working faith-based. Like, it is so much easier and more relaxed, and the culture, the environment on a faith-based set is just, everybody's nice. Everybody's warm and friendly. It feels like you're running downhill.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that. And there's a place for faith-based film. But my real heart is to get into the places under the Nebuchadnezzars and to thrive in Babylon.
That's good.
And Jeremiah says we're to seek the prosperity of the city to which we're called.
That's right.
So when I'm on a set that's not faith-based, I'm there to do an excellent job as an actor. I'm there to turn in a top drawer performance and to be absolutely professional. And at the same time, I'm also there to be salt and light. So while I'm preparing and working and laboring and being professional and turning in a great performance, I'm also looking for opportunities to be salt and light, to minister, to share my faith. I'm always praying. I'm spending time with people, building relationships. I'm asking the Holy Spirit to guide me to the right people to talk to.
That's so good. Talk about how you do your work unto the Lord, because in that environment, not in a faith-based environment, but wherever you are, we're supposed to do our work unto the Lord. So any actor, any person wants to walk in that excellence. How do you do that? How do you do that?
Yeah, well, one of the first things is what work to not do unto the Lord. And what I mean by that is, I get this question a lot, the auditions that come in that I'm not comfortable with. And it has to start there with your desire to honor God. Okay. And you will turn down things because you know that they're not pleasing to God. And I can tell you, there have been auditions that have come my way. You know, there was one audition for a major network television show, and the breakdown was recurring role bumped up to series regular. I mean, that is like every actor's dream audition.
Yeah.
And it came in, and I read the sides, and within 1 minute of looking at the sides, I knew that I couldn't do that role.
Yep. So many friends in the same position. Talk about boundaries. You got to draw a line.
Yes, and a long time ago, I set those boundaries with the Lord.
Okay.
And you have to. You have to know what you're okay with and what you're not okay with before that audition ever comes into your email. Because if you wait and you don't have those things set and established, you're going to be tempted to move the line. And so I would advise any young actor, find out now with mentors who love you, who believe in you, who are going to counsel you in the Word. Find out now what you'll do, what you won't do. Now, there are going to be gray areas. There's going to be questions that come down the line. But in general, have your apparatus of what you're going to do and not do. And then when an audition like that comes in, I didn't have to pray about it. I didn't have to poll my Facebook friends. I didn't have to, bemoan myself in prayer for days. I just knew, hey, this is on the list. Boom, can't do it. And my agent was not happy. And then I actually didn't get auditions from that casting director for like 6 months.
Wow.
And but I know that God knows how to make up
the difference.
For when you make a decision like that and it costs you, God's a rewarder.
It's so much better, right?
Yeah, and he's proven that. So that's the first thing. You have to start with what you know you won't do for the Lord. You know what I mean?
I do.
Be faithful to that. Then when a role comes in that you're going to do, you work your butt off. You should be the hardest working person on set.
That's good. Yeah.
You should be the most professional, amicable person.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about being some kind of politician trying to charm everybody, but we're called to be salt and light.
Yeah.
People should be delighted to work with us.
Yeah.
And delighted to be around us. And that's why Nebuchadnezzar, Daniel had so much favor with Nebuchadnezzar that Nebuchadnezzar needed Daniel, wanted him around.
Right, needed him around.
And that's what people in the industry should be saying about us as Christ followers. I don't like what they believe, but this person is a delight to work with.
That's good. That is so good.
Yeah, if we can live in that space, that's what it means to do it unto the Lord.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you talked about meeting your beautiful wife. You have children, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So talk about them and talk about what you hope the industry will change to do so that you would be comfortable allowing your children as they grow up to see things that are pleasing, things that you won't be disappointed in. And because there's a lot of debauchery, there's a lot of evil, there's a lot of things in the industry. And just talk about that and how we can work together to change the new remnant that's rising up. How can we work in and do that? Yeah,
I've got 3 awesome sons, 4.5, 3, and 1.
Wow.
So everything smells like poop. I can't clean my house fast enough. As soon as I'm done vacuuming one side of the house, the other side is getting dirty again. It's a never-ending cycle. You have 2 kids. Yeah. And I will prioritize my marriage and my relationship with my kids at any cost.
Yeah, that's good.
And I have found, though, that as I've been faithful to that, God has honored the call on my life. He'll do it without me having to mortgage my marriage or my kids for the sake of success.
That's right.
And I'm going to tell you, and I'm sure you've seen it too, I see it all the time.
Yeah.
People are willing to lay down their main calling. Your main calling is your marriage, your kids, your family.
That's right.
And it's tempting to do that for that shortcut. Don't do it. If you do it God's way, you'll live a blessed life. You'll get to enjoy all the benefits of a peaceful marriage and peaceful family while at the same time doing what you're called to do. It won't always be easy. That's not what I'm saying. But there's a verse in Proverbs chapter 10 that says, the blessing of the Lord makes a person rich without painful toil.
Sorrow. No sorrow.
Without sorrow for it.
Yes.
And what it's referring to is, so people in the world, they will forfeit their health.
Yep.
They'll forfeit their mental health, their marriages for the sake of riches. But when you do it God's way, He will cause you to thrive in the land of the living. That's what we're called to do. We're called to thrive. The thriving will not cost you your health or your relationships. I'm preaching myself happy.
That's so good.
So that's the main thing for me with my kids. Now, when it comes to content, I'm thankful that in the last 10 years, there's been an explosion of family-friendly alternatives to the mainstream stuff. So some studios out there are getting crazy. They're putting out content that I would not allow anywhere near my children.
Right.
But you've also got production companies and studios that are rising up and filling in the gaps.
Yep.
And those are the things and shows that we put our kids in front of. We'll have them watch that stuff.
Yeah.
So there are good alternatives. So if anybody out there feels like, my kids, there's nothing to watch without them being exposed to all of this toxic, immoral stuff. No. There's plenty of options out there.
Yeah.
Now, we're not done.
Yeah,
we got a lot of work to do.
A long way to go, but we're starting.
Yeah, we're starting. And here's the thing that I think needs to happen. And I want to be careful. But I got to be honest.
Yeah.
A lot of faith-based stuff, the messaging and the story honors God, but the excellence is not there.
How do we change that, Brian? And what do we need to do to bring that excellence? And I think that's a gap there that we have to fill. How do we do that?
There's a gap. We're not working hard enough.
Okay.
And here's why. This is one of the reasons I believe why. Faith-based content will draw an audience and it will make money, even if the quality of the storytelling and the acting isn't there. And so if you don't need to raise the bar, then why do it? So in a sense, you've got this, Christian community that will consume this content without it being at the level of excellence that Hollywood produces. Well, I want to fix that. We want to fix that.
We want to fix it.
Yeah. And what it does is it requires more work.
Yeah.
More study, more preparation, more fine-tuning. I have a friend right now that she has the same heart that you and I do. She's writing it's a Christian film. It's a comedy. She has written that thing 50 times. And she is putting in that work to make this script, make the characters as well-rounded and complex as a mainstream studio film. That's what we need to be doing. Because we don't have to choose between boldly honoring God with the message and the story and incredible acting. We don't have to choose.
Right.
We can do both.
Right.
So it just takes more work.
And besides, aren't we a royal priesthood? Aren't we kingdom kids? Aren't we supposed to live up here?
We should be the greatest artists on the planet. We should be the ones telling the greatest stories and putting in the greatest performances. We really should, because God is our creator.
Yep.
He's the original artist. All wisdom is from Him.
Yep.
So to whom much is given, much is required.
Yep. That's good. That is so good. Well, I have enjoyed, this has been great. I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours about this. But I'm happy to know that you're here, that you're in Atlanta, that you're working. that you're looking forward to all the new things that are coming forth in Atlanta. I think we're in the best place to be spiritually, and also where all the production studios are. And we're going to continue to just believe that greater things are coming.
That's right.
So as we end this, hopefully you'll come back. Will you come back and talk to us
I would love
some more?
to. This has been a pleasure. Yeah.
Alrighty. All right. What else do you want to? What else do you want to?
Actually, you could throw me one more question.
Okay.
Just because it's personal, we talked about how I don't have an agent right now.
Okay.
And one of the practical things is, okay, well, what are you supposed to do now? Are you just supposed to continue to? So I'm right now. I just got new headshots Friday.
Free agent. Okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
it would be interesting for people to know. Well, is he just gonna do that? Is he just gonna never have an agent again?
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay. Let's talk about that. Yeah. All right. So Brian, you don't have an agent right now, so you're pretty much a free agent. You're willing to work in faith-based films. You're willing to work in anything that is valuable to you and your family.
That's right.
You're available to it because you have the spirit of excellence, and you have this new way of thinking. God is going to lead you into the best places that He would have you go. So talk about what you're going to do now with your acting.
Yeah. So right now, this year, God has shown up. He's provided. He's brought me jobs without an agent. But, I'm sensing from Him that it's time to get back into that world.
Good.
As, with an agent, Actors Access, submitting for stuff. I want to make sure that it's in His timing.
Yeah.
I don't want to rush anything.
I'll take bloopers.
You want to make sure it's in good timing.
Yeah.
That was good that you're flowing.
Yeah, that was good. Ready?
Okay.
I want to make sure that I get a new agent and go after it aggressively again in His timing, and still with that spirit of yieldedness.
That's good.
So I just got new headshots done. That's a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And just submitted to my top agent pick.
Okay, good.
And waiting to hear back. And if they don't. I just submitted to my top agent choice. If they don't want to partner, then there's a couple other agencies that I would target. So that's the goal.
Okay, great.
Get an agent, and it's still God doing it.
Yeah.
I'm still 100% dependent on His favor, but that's the apparatus by which this world functions for me as an actor. And then we'll see what 2024 has. I also have a heart to write, and there's
awesome.
Stuff that I've written. There's a feature film that I've written.
Really?
There's some shorts that I've done that I want to do. So I don't want to just be an actor. I feel like God's given me some stories and some characters that down the road I want to put on screen.
That's amazing.
And I hope I get the chance to do that.
Brian, thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. It's been amazing. I could talk to you all day about the industry and God and what He's doing for us for 2024 and just what He has in store for all of us that are yielded and surrendered.